Drop her. The woman hit the frozen dirt hard enough to knock the breath from her chest. Her body folded against the ground and for a moment she did not move. One of the men wiped his hands on his coat. She's done. Another man nudged her with the toe of his boot. Get up. She tried. Her arms trembled under her weight and collapsed again. Blood slid slowly down the side of her face and darkened the dirt beneath her cheek. A truck engine idled nearby. The tallest man stepped closer and crouched beside her. You still listening? She did not answer. He grabbed her chin and lifted her face. You had your chance. Her voice came out thin and dry. I said no. The man laughed softly. Yeah. We heard you. Another man spat into the snow. Waste of time. The tall man stood again. Leave her. A younger voice from the truck hesitated. You sure? The tall man looked toward the empty field stretching into darkness. The old stone well sat a few yards away, half buried in frost and weeds. She won't last an hour. The younger man stepped closer to the body. What if someone finds her? The tall man shrugged. No one comes out here. He walked back toward the truck. The younger man lingered. He stared at the woman lying beside the well. Her chest rose slowly, painfully. Maybe we should just finish it. The tall man opened the truck door. Winter will finish it. He climbed inside. The engine growled louder. The younger man muttered something under his breath and finally turned away. The truck doors slammed. Tires spun over frozen gravel and the headlights swept across the field once before disappearing down the road. Silence fell back into place. For several seconds nothing moved. Then the woman coughed. The sound tore out of her chest like broken glass. Blood splashed onto the ground. She rolled slightly onto her back and stared up into the dark sky. Snowflakes drifted down slowly, settling against her skin. Her fingers twitched. She dragged one hand through the dirt. It moved only a few inches before stopping. Another cough shook her body. Move, she whispered to herself. Her voice sounded weak and distant. She pulled again. Another inch. The stone well stood above her like a silent witness. She tried to push herself up. Pain shot through her ribs and she collapsed again, gasping. Her breath turned white in the cold air. Minutes passed. The cold crept deeper into her bones. She tried once more. Her hand scraped across frozen dirt toward the well. Then she heard it. Hoofbeats. Slow. Careful. She stopped moving. The sound grew closer. A horse stepped into the edge of the darkness, its breath rising in soft clouds. A man sat quietly in the saddle. He watched the woman without speaking. The horse shifted beneath him. The woman turned her head slightly. Her vision blurred, but she saw the shape of the rider. Go away, she whispered. The man did not move. He slid down from the saddle and tied the reins loosely to the well post. Boots crunched softly on the frozen ground as he approached. He crouched beside her. For a moment he simply studied her face. You breathing? He asked. She did not answer. He placed 2 fingers gently against her neck. A faint pulse beat beneath the skin. Barely, he said quietly. Her eyes opened a little. Don't. Don't what? Don't help me. The man glanced toward the empty road in the distance. They did this? She closed her eyes again. Yes. Who? She shook her head weakly. Doesn't matter. The man looked back at the road once more. Then at the bruises on her arms. Then at the blood on the dirt. You from here? He asked. No. A long silence settled between them. Snow continued falling around them. The man stood slowly and walked back to the horse. The woman watched him through half-closed eyes. Good, she murmured. He paused. You leaving? He loosened something from the saddle. Thought about it. Her voice faded. Smart man. He returned and knelt beside her again. You got a name? She hesitated. Then whispered one word. Anna. The man nodded slightly. All right, Anna. She frowned weakly. What are you doing? He slipped one arm carefully beneath her shoulders and lifted her from the frozen ground. Pain shot through her body and she gasped. Stop, she whispered. He ignored her. He carried her to the horse and lifted her slowly onto the saddle. Her head sagged against the animal's neck. You shouldn't have done that, she murmured. The man untied the reins and climbed into the saddle behind her. He looked once more toward the distant town lights. Anna's voice drifted through the cold air. They'll come looking. Probably. They'll kill you. The man gently guided the horse toward the road. They already tried that once. The horse began walking through the snow. Anna's breathing grew shallow again. Why, she whispered. Why what? Why help me? The man watched the empty road ahead. Then he spoke quietly. Someone should. The horse carried them slowly into the dark valley beyond the well. Behind them the snow continued falling, covering the blood in the dirt as if the night itself was trying to erase what had happened there. The horse climbed the narrow trail slowly, hooves pressing deep into the snow. Anna leaned forward against the saddle horn, barely conscious, her fingers stiff with cold. The cowboy rode behind her with one arm steady around her waist so she would not fall. The ranch lights appeared faintly through the dark trees ahead, a single yellow glow in the valley. A second man stepped out onto the porch when he heard the horse approach. He held a lantern in one hand and squinted through the falling snow. You ride out late now? The cowboy didn't answer. The lantern lifted higher. Then the man saw Anna. What the hell is that? The horse stopped beside the porch. The cowboy slid down first and caught Anna as she began to slip sideways. She's freezing, he said. The man on the porch walked closer, lowering the lantern toward her face. The bruises showed clearly in the light. Who is she? Trouble. You bring trouble home now? She needed help. The man sighed and stepped aside. Bring her in before she dies on my floor. The cowboy carried Anna through the doorway. The ranch house smelled of wood smoke and old leather. A small fire burned in the stove. Lay her there, the man said, pointing to a long wooden table. Anna groaned softly as the cowboy lowered her onto it. The man set the lantern down and leaned closer to study the wounds. This wasn't a fight. No. This was punishment. The cowboy said nothing. The man touched the side of Anna's face gently. Ribs might be cracked. Head's bleeding too. Anna stirred slightly. Her eyes opened halfway. Where am I? The cowboy stood beside the table. A ranch. She blinked slowly. Whose? Mine. She tried to move but pain stopped her. You shouldn't have taken me. Too late. The other man crossed his arms. You want to tell me what's going on? The cowboy shook his head. Later. The man grumbled and moved toward a cabinet. Fine. But if the sheriff comes knocking, you're the one talking. Anna's eyes opened wider at that word. Sheriff. The cowboy noticed. You know him? She didn't answer. The man returned with a bottle and cloth. This is gonna sting, he said. Anna tried to push his hand away but failed. Hold still. He cleaned the cut on her forehead while she clenched her teeth. What's your name? He asked. She hesitated. The cowboy watched her quietly. After a moment she whispered, Anna. The man nodded once. Well, Anna, I'm Eli. And the stubborn fool who dragged you here is Cole. Cole leaned against the wall silently. Eli finished wrapping the wound. You got family in town? He asked. Anna shook her head. No. You passing through? Yes. Cole finally spoke. That's not true. Anna looked at him. Why would you say that? Because men don't leave someone like that in the snow unless they know her. Silence filled the room. Eli glanced between them. What men? Cole walked toward the stove and added another piece of wood to the fire. The kind who think winter does their work. Anna stared at the floor. Eli rubbed his beard slowly. You picked her up near the old well, didn't you? Cole didn't answer. That's townland, Eli continued. People don't get dumped there unless someone important wants it that way. Anna whispered something under her breath. Eli leaned closer. What was that? She spoke a little louder. They thought I'd die. Cole looked at her. Why? She swallowed hard. Because I didn't listen. Eli frowned. Didn't listen to who? Anna closed her eyes. I can't say. Cole pushed away from the stove and walked toward the table. You can if you want to stay alive. She stared at him for a long moment. Why help me? She asked. Cole shrugged slightly. You were breathing. That's not a reason. It was enough. Eli muttered, not in this valley it isn't. Anna slowly turned her head toward the window. Through the glass she could see the distant glow of town lights. They'll look for me, she said. Cole followed her gaze. Probably. They'll come here. Maybe. Eli threw his hands in the air. You two talking like this is normal? Cole ignored him. Anna's voice trembled. You don't understand who they are. Cole looked back at her. Then explain it. She hesitated again. Finally she whispered, powerful. Eli let out a quiet curse. That's what I was afraid of. Anna's eyes began to close again as exhaustion pulled her down. Before sleep took her completely she asked one more question. Cole. He stepped closer. Yeah? Why didn't you leave me there? Cole looked toward the dark valley outside the window. Then he answered simply. Because someone should have helped you. Anna drifted into sleep. For several minutes no one spoke. Eli finally leaned close to Cole and lowered his voice. You know what happens when the sheriff finds out? Cole stared into the fire. He already knows. Eli's face went pale. Outside, far down the snowy road leading toward the ranch, a pair of truck headlights slowly appeared in the darkness and began moving closer through the falling snow. The knock came hard, sharp, echoing through the empty ranch house. Anna stirred on the floor, blankets pulled tight around her, eyes still glassy from fever and cold. Cole moved first, stepping toward the door, rifle slung loosely across his back, stance careful but unreadable. When he opened it, the sheriff stepped inside, boots scuffing the wooden floor, hat pulled low, badge glinting faintly in the firelight. Evening, the sheriff said, voice smooth but heavy, the kind of calm that made walls feel thin. You're far from town. Cole didn't answer. He simply nodded toward the living room. The sheriff's eyes scanned the room, landing on the blood-streaked floor and the faint red on Anna's sleeve. Seen anything unusual lately? His tone was casual, but it carried a weight that pressed the air down. Cole glanced at Anna, who shifted under the blankets, then back at the sheriff. No. The sheriff crouched slightly, tilting his head. Even your wounded animals get inside? Cole's jaw tightened. Only the ones worth saving. Silence fell, broken only by the crackle of the stove fire. The sheriff's lips twitched upward, a slow, deliberate smile. Winter takes care of strays. Cole met his gaze evenly. Not this time. Anna listened from her corner, barely breathing, recognizing the tone of the voice that had ordered her left to die. The sheriff straightened, glancing at the door. You've always been a good man, he said softly. Then louder, good men usually follow rules. Cole's hand tightened on the rifle strap. I follow the rules that matter, he said quietly. The sheriff paused, shifting his weight. His eyes lingered on Anna for a moment, and a shadow passed over his face. "Bring her out," he said finally, more a statement than a question. Anna's body tensed beneath the blankets. Cole stepped between them. "She's not coming." The sheriff's hand hovered near his holster. "You picked someone up last night?" Cole's voice was steady. "No, she's lying," Anna said softly. The sheriff's eyes narrowed. "I know who she is." The room froze. Eli whispered from behind Cole, "You just started a war." Cole didn't turn. "They started it." Upstairs, Anna trembled, realizing that the man in front of her had the authority to end everything she had just survived. She whispered to herself, "He works for them." Cole didn't respond, just kept his eyes on the sheriff. Finally, the sheriff took a slow step back toward the door. "I'll be back," he said quietly, a threat more than a promise. Outside, the wind shifted and carried the faint echo of his boots across the snow. Eli exhaled sharply. "He knows," he said. Cole's gaze followed the fading headlights. "And now so do we." Upstairs, Anna buried her face into the blankets, realizing the walls that were supposed to protect her were thinner than she thought. The sheriff had seen everything, yet for now, he had left. The tension in the house didn't lift. If anything, it pressed harder, a living weight that promised nothing would be easy. Cole returned to the fire, loosening his coat, and finally glanced at Anna. "You safe for now?" She looked up, fear and relief tangled in her gaze. "For now," he echoed. Eli crossed his arms, muttering under his breath. "For now isn't going to last long." Outside, the snow continued to fall, the valley dark except for the dim glow of the ranch and the faint line of the distant town. The sheriff's presence lingered like a shadow, reminding them all that in this place, no rescue was permanent, no safety guaranteed. Cole's eyes moved to the window, scanning the dark line of trees beyond. "Let them come," he said finally. "Let them try." Upstairs, Anna hugged the blanket tighter. She had survived the night, but the war was just beginning. The house seemed quieter now, but every creak of the floor, every sigh of the wind against the shutters whispered of what was waiting outside. The sheriff had left, but the chill he brought with him hadn't. It lingered in the corners, in the cold edges of the room, in the small, shallow breaths of a girl who had been left to die and the man who refused to let her. Outside, the snow fell steadily, softening the world, hiding the tracks of those who might follow, but Cole knew better. They would be back. They always came back. And the moment they did, the ranch would no longer be a shelter, it would be a battlefield. He glanced at Anna once more, her small figure trembling beneath the blankets. "They'll find out soon enough," he said quietly. "But not tonight." And for tonight, that was enough. The fire in the stove crackled low, casting uneven shadows across the walls. Anna sat at the edge of the table, blanket draped loosely over her shoulders, her hands folded in her lap. Cole stood nearby, leaning against the wall, silent but alert. Eli busied himself with stacking more wood, glancing between them nervously. The ranch felt small, too small for the weight of what Anna carried, but it was all they had. "You need to tell me," Cole said finally, breaking the silence. His voice was low but firm. "Why they wanted you dead." Anna's fingers flexed against each other. Her voice came soft at first. "It's complicated." Cole leaned closer. "Try me." Eli froze, glancing between them. "Cole, careful," he muttered. Anna shook her head slightly. "I need you to understand. They've been hiding this for decades. My mother tried to fight, and they made sure she couldn't." Cole's eyes narrowed. "Who?" Anna looked down at the table, tracing invisible patterns in the worn wood. "The governor's family. They stole land, destroyed records, made people vanish. Anyone who spoke up, gone." Eli muttered something under his breath. "Christ. They thought I'd be next," Anna continued. "I found evidence. Letters, documents, things they thought were lost. Proof." Her voice broke slightly, but she swallowed hard and met Cole's gaze. "If it comes out, they'll lose everything. Their power, their control. Cole's jaw tightened. Where is it? Anna shook her head. Hidden. Only if you know where. Until now. Eli looked alarmed. You're talking about secrets people would kill to protect. Anna nodded slowly. Exactly. They won't stop. Not for a second. Cole studied her face. And you brought it here, why? She met his eyes, steady despite exhaustion. Because you're the only one who doesn't follow their rules. He exhaled slowly, tension settling in his shoulders. That's dangerous. Anna's lips pressed into a thin line. I know. Silence filled the room for a moment, broken by the faint hiss of the fire. Eli shook his head. You know what happens if the sheriff finds out, right? Anna swallowed. I do. Cole moved closer to the stove, staring into the flames. Then you're choosing to fight. She nodded. I don't have a choice. Cole looked at her, measuring, then finally said, We'll keep you alive. But this isn't a game, Anna. Once the truth comes out, nothing goes back the way it was. She leaned back slightly, the blanket falling from her shoulders. I know. And I'm ready. Eli cleared his throat. Ready? You don't even know what's waiting for you. Anna's eyes met his, unflinching. I do. I've seen it. And I survived once already. Cole finally spoke, his tone softer now, but firm. Then you stay here. You heal. And when it's time, we take it back. Anna nodded. I have to. For my mother. For everyone they've silenced. The fire popped. A long pause stretched between them, heavy with the unspoken weight of generations. Then Cole said quietly, We start tonight. There's no waiting anymore. Anna shivered, not from cold, but from the gravity of what lay ahead. If they find out, they'll come for all of us, she said. Cole looked at her steadily. Then we make sure they regret it. Eli shifted uneasily. And if we fail? Anna's voice was quiet, but unwavering. Then at least they'll know the truth before they do. Cole leaned back against the wall, eyes narrowing. No. We don't fail. Snow drifted faintly past the windows, a pale white covering the ground outside, as if the winter itself was holding its breath. Outside, the valley was silent, but beneath that silence was the distant pulse of the town, moving, plotting, waiting. Anna rose slowly from the table, folding the blanket around her shoulders again. Where do we start? Cole glanced at Eli. We start with the documents. If they're in the town's hands, we find them before they disappear. Anna's jaw set. Then we move fast. No hesitation. Cole nodded. No hesitation. Outside, the snow continued falling. Inside, the fire flickered, casting shadows that stretched long across the walls, mimicking the long reach of the governor's power. For a moment, the room was still, the only sound the faint whistle of wind through the broken shutters. Anna finally allowed herself a deep breath. I didn't think anyone would help me, she admitted softly. Cole's voice came without warmth, but steady. Someone should. The chapter ended with a soft thump outside the window, distant, almost imperceptible, like a warning. Anna froze, looking toward the sound. Cole's hand brushed the rifle at his side. They're watching, he said simply. Eli's eyes widened. Already? Cole didn't answer. He just watched the dark line of trees where the valley met the town, knowing that the shadow of the governor's power was far longer than the road ahead. Anna pulled the blanket tighter, feeling the weight of history and vengeance pressing down on her, realizing that survival had never been enough, she would have to fight to be free. Night came heavy and silent, snow falling in thick, muffled layers that swallowed sound and light. The ranch felt smaller than ever, its walls a fragile shield against the world outside. Anna lay wrapped in blankets near the fire, trying to ignore the sharp ache in her ribs, but every creak of the floor made her flinch. Cole moved quietly around the room, rifle in hand, eyes scanning the dark edges of the windows. Eli stacked more wood, glancing out every few minutes, restless and tense. A sudden crack rang out from the barn, sharp and deliberate. Anna bolted upright. "Did you hear that?" Cole's hand tightened on the rifle strap. "They're here." Eli cursed under his breath. "How many?" Cole's eyes narrowed toward the dark. 3 trucks. Maybe more. The snow muffled the sound of engines, but distant headlights flickered faintly through the trees. Anna shivered. "They'll kill us." Cole's voice was low, certain. "Not tonight." Outside, voices rose, rough and commanding. "Bring the girl out," one shouted. Cole stepped to the door and raised his rifle. No, another voice barked, sharper this time. "You don't want this." Cole's reply was calm, deliberate. "Already got it." The barn door exploded inward under a hail of bullets, wood splintering, metal shaking. The fire inside flickered, and Anna ducked lower under the blankets, teeth chattering. Eli whispered urgently. "They'll come back with the sheriff next time." Cole didn't flinch. "They always do." Anna shook her head. "This is my fault." Cole looked at her, voice firm. "No." "Then whose?" She didn't answer. He said quietly, "Theirs." Outside, the truck engines rumbled across the snow, then faded into silence. Shattered wood lay across the yard, the smell of gunpowder heavy in the cold air. Eli moved to check the barn. "One of the horses, it's dead." Anna turned away, swallowing hard. Cole's eyes scanned the shadows beyond the porch. "They're sending a message. Not here to negotiate." The cabin was still again. Snow drifted silently against the walls, covering the tracks left by intruders. Anna wrapped her arms around herself, staring at the floor. "I shouldn't have come here." Cole knelt beside her, his voice quiet but unyielding. "You didn't have a choice. They decided for you." Eli leaned against the wall, rubbing his hands together. "We've got to move," warned the others. Cole shook his head. "No. Not yet. We wait. We see how far they'll go." Hours passed. The wind whispered against the shutters, carrying the faint scent of smoke from the distant town. Anna listened to the silence, her chest rising and falling with shallow, uneven breaths. Cole checked the windows again. "They'll test us again. They always do." Anna's voice was small, trembling. "I can't lose anyone else." Cole's hand brushed hers briefly. "You won't. Not tonight." Eli's voice broke the moment, harsh and worried. "We're sitting ducks here." Cole didn't answer. He simply stood, rifle ready, gaze moving toward the dark valley where the attackers had disappeared. The house felt alive with tension, every creak and groan amplified in the quiet. Anna's eyes moved to the shadows at the far corner of the room. "What if they know where the letters are?" she whispered. Cole's voice was steady. "Then we make sure they don't get them." Eli groaned. "They'll come back. And next time, they won't leave empty-handed." Cole's expression didn't change. "Then we prepare." Outside, the snow continued falling, thick and blinding, erasing every trace of what had happened. Anna finally leaned back, exhausted but alert. "We can't stay hidden forever." Cole's eyes met hers. "No. But tonight, we survive." "That's enough." Eli muttered, "For how long?" Cole didn't reply. His attention was on the line of dark trees where the trucks had vanished, waiting for the moment they returned. Anna's fingers flexed in the blanket, readying herself, bracing for what she knew was coming. Every heartbeat echoed the knowledge that survival was fragile, temporary. The ranch might be safe for the night, but beyond the snow and silence, the world waited, hungry and relentless. The night stretched long and cold. Every shadow seemed alive. The air was thick with anticipation, each sound magnified, each flicker of the fire a signal. Anna whispered to herself, "We have to be ready." Cole's reply was almost a growl. "We are." Eli leaned against the wall again, shaking his head. If they find us, if they come back, Cole cut him off. They will. But they'll regret it. Outside, the snow fell in quiet sheets, covering footprints and tracks, hiding the warning that had just been delivered. The first strike was over, but the war had just begun. The morning air was sharp and still, the snow flattened by frost but still thick enough to swallow sound. Anna trudged beside Cole and Eli, each step leaving a deep print in the white. Her breath came out in short, misty bursts. "Where are we going?" she asked, voice small, wary. Cole didn't answer at first. He guided the horse through the uneven ground, eyes scanning the horizon. "Somewhere they forgot," he said finally. Anna frowned. "Forgot?" Cole kept moving. "Not on maps. Not in memory. Only the people who buried the truth know." The field appeared suddenly through a line of skeletal trees. It was quiet, too quiet, with frost-dusted grass bending under the weight of winter. Anna stopped for a moment, looking around. "What is this place?" Cole gestured toward the center. "You'll see." They approached the spot, the snow crunching beneath their boots. Anna's heart beat faster. She recognized the curve of the land, the hollowed patch near the old stones. "My mother said they buried someone here," she whispered. Cole knelt beside the snow, brushing it aside carefully. "You sure about this?" Anna nodded. "I remember. From what she told me. And the letters." Eli crouched across from them, pulling a small spade from his pack. "This is insane," he muttered. Cole didn't reply. He set his hand firmly on Anna's shoulder. "Do it. Let's see what's real." The first shovelful hit frozen dirt, sparks of frost rising from the ground. Anna swallowed hard. "I can't believe this," she said softly, brushing hair from her face. The second shovelful revealed something darker, shapes that weren't snow. Bones, brittle and pale, half hidden in the frost. Eli stepped back, mouth open. "God," Anna bent closer, tears slipping unheeded down her cheeks. "It's them," she whispered. Cole's eyes swept the field, alert. "We cover it first," he said. "Then we decide what to do next." They worked quietly, uncovering the small grave completely. The bones told the story without words, the remnants of a life stolen, a secret preserved only in silence. Anna crouched beside it, trembling. All this time, they thought they buried the truth. Cole knelt beside her. They didn't bury her. They buried fear. And now fear has company. Eli shook his head, stepping closer. "They'll come for us. They won't forgive this." Cole's jaw set. "Then we make sure they regret it." Anna touched the frozen remains lightly, her fingers brushing bone. "I knew they would never stop," she said. "Even after all these years." Cole's voice was low, firm. "And that's why we're here." The wind stirred faintly through the trees, carrying the distant echo of engines, perhaps trucks moving in the town, perhaps only imagination. Anna's eyes narrowed. "We need to be fast. They'll know someone's been here." Cole nodded. "First, we cover the grave. Then, we move." Eli looked at the small clearing. "Do you realize what this means? All of us are targets now." Anna's voice was steady despite her fear. "I know. But it's time someone knew." Cole's eyes flicked to hers. "And now they do." They worked in silence, brushing snow over the freshly revealed earth, erasing footprints and evidence, leaving only the faint outline of disturbed ground. When they finished, Anna stepped back, chest tight, eyes scanning the horizon. "It feels wrong. Like opening something that shouldn't be seen." Cole's hand brushed her arm briefly. "It feels right. Someone has to see it. Someone has to fight." Eli exhaled slowly, shaking his head. "Fight? They'll burn this valley before they let anyone expose it." Anna looked at him, calm and certain. "Then we make sure they burn nothing but lies." Cole nodded. "Exactly. The three of them paused, listening. The valley was silent again, save for the whisper of the wind through the skeletal trees. Anna turned toward Cole, her hands still frozen from the effort. "What now?" Cole looked at Eli, then back at her. "We wait. And we prepare. They'll come for the grave, for the letters, for you. We make sure they don't take any of it." Anna swallowed hard, chest tight. "I'm ready." Cole's voice was steady. "Good. You need to be. They're coming sooner than you think." Outside, the snow continued to fall softly, covering the land in a pale, quiet blanket, hiding the evidence but not the truth. The valley was calm, but the calm held the promise of violence, the shadow of the town's wrath stretching across the frozen field. For Anna, the weight of history pressed down, heavy and relentless, but beneath it, a spark of resolve burned. She had survived the winter, and now she would survive the town. The headlights cut through the night like knives, slicing the darkness outside the ranch. Trucks rumbled over snow-packed ground, engines low and menacing. Cole stood on the porch, rifle in hand, eyes fixed on the approaching convoy. Eli moved behind him, tense, muttering under his breath. Anna hugged herself near the doorway, blankets barely keeping the cold and fear at bay. "They're here," she whispered. Cole's voice was calm, steady. "And they'll find us." The sheriff stepped from the lead truck, boots scuffing snow, badge catching the dim light. He didn't smile. His hand hovered near his gun. "Bring her out," he said, voice carrying across the field. Cole didn't move. "She's not coming." The sheriff's eyes narrowed. "You're making a mistake." Cole's lips pressed into a thin line. "I already did." Anna stepped forward, her voice clear despite the tremor in her chest. "I'm protecting the truth." The sheriff's expression hardened. "She was supposed to die weeks ago." Eli's hands shook. "You murdered people," he shouted. The sheriff's eyes flicked to him. "We kept order," he said coldly. Cole's finger rested lightly along the rifle, not threatening, just ready. "Order ends today," he said, low and deliberate. Anna swallowed, stepping closer to the porch's edge, meeting the sheriff's gaze. "You silenced everyone. You hid every crime. But I survived. And I'm telling." The sheriff's mouth tightened. "This town needs people like you." Cole's eyes didn't move. "Then you'll choke on what we tell." Eli whispered urgently. "They're not just going to leave." Anna glanced at him. "Let them try." Snow swirled in gusts around the porch, mixing with the smell of smoke from distant town lights. The sheriff's deputies fanned out behind him, rifles slung, faces tense. "You think one girl changes anything?" the sheriff said, voice sharp. Anna's eyes narrowed. "Yes. One girl exposes everything. One girl makes the powerful afraid of the weak. One girl makes sure the truth survives." The sheriff's hand twitched near his holster. Cole's hand brushed the rifle calmly, eyes unwavering. "You brought us here," he said softly. "You should have left her in the snow." The sheriff's gaze fell to the ground, muttering, "She was supposed to die." Anna stepped closer. "But I didn't. And neither did he." Her eyes swept across the men standing behind the sheriff. One deputy shifted uneasily, glancing at the trucks, then back at the group. "I'm done covering this," he muttered. Others began murmuring, exchanging looks, tension flickering like a live wire through the line. Cole's voice cut through the murmurs. "Every rule they set? Broken. Every lie? Exposed. Tonight, we change everything." Anna's chest heaved. "We make them answer." Snow continued falling, softening the edges of the fight but not the threat. The sheriff's face grew tight with frustration. "If you think you've won," Cole interrupted. "We haven't won. Not yet. But you've already lost control." The men behind the sheriff shifted uneasily, their confidence faltering. Anna took a deep breath. "We're not afraid of you. Not now." The tension stretched, thick and electric, each side waiting, measuring. Outside, the valley held its breath, the snow erasing footprints, hiding movement, but the truth was exposed, raw and undeniable. Cole lowered his rifle slightly, eyes on the sheriff. "We didn't bring this war here." "You did." The sheriff's hand dropped slowly, eyes flicking to the town in the distance, realizing the support he counted on was wavering. Anna took another step forward. "Every secret you buried, every life you tried to erase, it's coming back tonight. You can't stop it." The snow swirled, a quiet storm masking the sounds of the valley. The sheriff's men hesitated, glances exchanged, murmurs rising. One deputy finally stepped back. "I'm not part of this," he said, voice low. Cole's eyes stayed fixed on the sheriff. "Good choice." Anna's voice was steady, almost calm. "The town will see the truth. You can't control it anymore." A distant howl of wind carried through the trees, eerie and hollow. The sheriff finally lowered his gaze. His control was gone, slipping like sand through fingers. Cole's hand stayed near the rifle, but his eyes softened slightly as he glanced at Anna. "They thought winter would finish you. We finished it for ourselves." Eli exhaled shakily. "It's done?" Cole shook his head once. "Not done. But the first crack is in the walls. The town is turning." Anna stepped to the edge of the porch, looking out over the valley, feeling the snow underfoot, hearing the quiet resistance growing in the distance. "We survived this night," she said quietly. "And now we fight for every night after." Cole's voice was low, resolute. "And we will. One step at a time." The sheriff turned slowly, defeated for now, and led his men back to the trucks. The engines growled to life, headlights cutting through the snow, leaving behind a valley that was cold, quiet, but no longer controlled. Anna exhaled, leaning against Cole. "You broke the rules." He gave a faint, wry nod. "They were wrong rules." Snow continued falling, a soft blanket over a field of shifting power, marking the first victory in a war the town never saw coming. The barn smelled of smoke before Anna even stepped inside. Flames licked the rafters, sending sparks into the icy air. Papers, ledgers, and old letters crackled as they burned, the fire devouring decades of hidden lies. Eli stood near the doorway, face pale, holding a bucket of water he didn't intend to use. Cole knelt beside the desk, shoving charred papers toward the center of the blaze. Anna's eyes widened. "You're burning everything?" Cole didn't look up. "Everything that can hurt them and us." "Are you insane?" Eli hissed, voice tight. "Those records, that's proof." Cole's jaw was set. "Proof doesn't matter if it kills us first. Better it burns here than stays in their hands." Anna hesitated, fingers brushing a half-burned letter. "But what if someone needs to see it later?" Cole finally glanced at her, eyes hard but calm. "Then we take what matters. The rest? Gone." Flames swallowed more papers. The heat was intense, warm against the cold air, and the smell of scorched ink filled the room. Anna stepped closer, her voice quiet. "And the letters from my mother?" Cole reached for a small bundle he'd pulled from beneath the desk. "Safe. That's all that matters." Eli muttered again. "We're destroying history." Cole didn't respond. He stared into the fire, the red glow reflecting off his face. "We're protecting the future." Anna's eyes flicked to him. "From who?" Cole's hand rested on the bundle of letters. "From people who never wanted the truth told." The fire crackled, shadows flicking across walls, twisting familiar shapes into grotesque masks. Anna shivered. "It feels like we're losing everything." Cole's voice was steady. "We are losing lies. That's the point." Eli leaned back against the wall, watching the flames consume decades of records. "If the sheriff finds out," Cole cut him off. "He won't. Not yet. And when he does, it won't matter." Anna's fingers tightened around the blanket she'd wrapped herself in. "We're breaking their power." Cole nodded. "Exactly. One fire at a time." A loud snap echoed from the ceiling, wood splitting under the heat. Sparks rained down as Cole shifted papers toward the center of the fire. Anna's eyes were wide. "It's too much," she whispered. "It's unstoppable." Eli shook his head. "We can't control it." Cole's eyes met hers. "We don't need to control it. We just need to survive it and make sure it survives them." Anna swallowed hard. The letters in his hand were fragile, but they carried the weight of generations, a lifeline through the smoke and heat. Outside, snow fell silently, masking the fire from the valley. Inside, the barn glowed orange, shadows dancing across walls lined with shelves of destroyed evidence. Cole stepped back, watching the blaze consume what had been hidden for so long. Anna whispered, "It feels like a funeral." Cole's voice was low but certain. "It's a rebirth." Eli muttered under his breath, shaken. "A rebirth or a curse?" Cole didn't answer. His gaze stayed on the fire, the way it consumed everything it touched yet left the letters untouched. Anna stepped closer to Cole. "We're really doing this." Cole's hand rested lightly on her shoulder. "We have to. They can't control the past anymore. They can't erase the truth. Not while we're standing." Eli nodded slowly. "And if they come back?" Cole's voice hardened. "They will. But we'll be ready." Outside, the snow continued to fall, covering tracks, erasing traces of movement. The fire in the barn roared, casting long shadows that stretched into the night, a signal and a warning both. Anna finally exhaled, pulling her hands from the blanket. "It's gone," she said softly. Cole looked at the glowing embers. "No. Not gone. Freed." Eli shook his head again. "Freed, from what?" Cole glanced at Anna, then the fire, then the shadows. "From fear. From silence. From the power they thought they had." The barn creaked under the heat, but the fire continued to burn, unstoppable, consuming every page, every lie, every secret they had discovered. For the first time in weeks, Anna felt a spark of hope, fragile and flickering, but alive. They watched the fire together in silence. Snow fell outside, soft and quiet, covering the valley in white. Inside, the barn glowed with orange and red, alive with destruction and truth. Cole finally spoke. "The town will know soon. And they'll remember this night." Anna nodded, gripping the small bundle of letters tighter. "And we'll be ready." Eli exhaled slowly, uncertain. Cole's voice cut the silence. "We always are." The fire roared, swallowing the past and lighting a path toward what came next. By morning, the valley was quiet, snow flattened into a soft, white sheet, hiding all evidence of the previous night's chaos. Anna stood at the window of the ranch, watching faint smoke curl from chimneys in the distance. The town was waking, unaware that the balance of power had shifted while they slept. Cole leaned against the doorframe, rifle slung over his shoulder, eyes scanning the horizon. Eli moved between the stove and the table, still tense. "They know," Eli muttered. "Already?" Cole's gaze didn't waver. "Yes. And that changes everything." Anna turned from the window, chest tight. "The letters, the fire, people will hear." Cole nodded. "They already have. Whispers travel faster than snow." Eli shook his head. "They'll come for us." Cole's voice was quiet but certain. "Let them. They'll find resistance, not fear." Anna swallowed hard. "And if the sheriff tries again?" Cole glanced toward the valley, shadows stretching across the snow. "He won't. Not yet. The town's shifting. Some of them are waking up." Outside, figures moved along the edges of the town, cautious, glances exchanged, a quiet network forming. Anna's lips pressed together. "They're watching, waiting." Cole's hand brushed against hers briefly. "And they're listening. That's the point. Power is fragile. Once it cracks, it spreads." Eli muttered under his breath, pacing. "It's still dangerous. Too dangerous." Anna stepped closer. We've already survived danger. We're not stopping now. Cole's eyes flicked to her, approving, silent acknowledgement passing between them. A faint knock echoed through the ranch, sudden and soft. Cole's hand dropped to the rifle instantly. Anna stiffened. Who is it? Cole moved to the door cautiously. Outside stood a small group, a few townspeople, faces wary, hands empty, eyes alert. We heard about last night, one of them said, voice low. We know what they did to her. To you. Cole's gaze swept the group. And, another voice asked. And we're done hiding, the first replied. Eli let out a low whistle. That's a lot of them. Anna stepped forward. You're not afraid? The first townswoman shook her head. Afraid of them, yes. But not anymore. Not after seeing what survives. Cole's lips pressed into a thin line. So the town turns. And you're part of it, she nodded. We want to help. To stop the secrets, the lies, the killings. Eli muttered under his breath, disbelief written across his face. Cole's gaze swept the valley, scanning the distant line of town lights. Then we begin, he said, low and measured. Anna's chest tightened, but she straightened. We begin where? Cole glanced at the barn, still glowing faintly from last night's fire, embers smoldering. We start with the truth. Expose the people hiding in power. No one spared. A murmured agreement rose from the townspeople. Anna's voice came quiet but firm. And the governor's family? Cole's gaze darkened. They'll feel the change first. Then the town will follow. Eli's hands shook. They'll come for us. Cole's expression didn't waver. Then we'll be ready.